The popcorn you're eating has been pissed in. Film at 11.
Hello there and welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories. I'm your host, Brian Davis. For this week's episode, we're going to cover guilty pleasure movies. And what I mean by this is, it might be that you enjoy a movie that was universally panned by critics, or possibly it just did horrible at the box office, but you don't care because you enjoyed the movie anyway. Or it could be just simply your friends make fun of you because they're movie snobs and they won't allow you to have your simple pleasures. Whatever it may be, we all have guilty pleasure movies, and that's okay. There is something out there for everyone, and if it makes you happy, you should watch it, and watch it a lot. So that's what we're going to cover this week, and I'll get into my top 10 list now. Number 10 on my list for guilty pleasure movies is The Green Hornet from 2011. So I'm a big fan of old-time radio programs from the 1930s and 40s. And as a kid, I would spend hours in my room listening to old tapes of Jack Benny, The Shadow, Our Miss Brooks, Abbott and Costello, and The Green Hornet, along many others. So when I heard there was going to be a movie version of The Green Hornet, I was thrilled, really looking forward to it. I'm probably one of the few people that really enjoyed this version of The Green Hornet, and I suppose I can understand how older fans of the character might have been upset with the film. But I kind of liked how it was a spoof. It wasn't a straight-ahead superhero movie. It wasn't supposed to be like the old version. It was also cool to see how Kato is like basically the lead good guy, and as opposed to just being a sidekick. It's always the sidekick does nothing, and that's kind of, Kato was important in the original show, but he wasn't the main person. So basically Seth Rogen was the buffoon and let Kato take the lead. And also you have an excellent villain in Christoph Waltz, who was good in everything. So in any case, even Seth Rogen wasn't even a big fan of the film, so a chance of a sequel is pretty much out of the question, which is much to my dismay. But if you like movies and superhero movies that aren't traditional, I think this is a good one.
Hola, I am the Green Hornet.
Number 9 on my list is The Jazz Singer from 1980. And I must preface this by saying The Jazz Singer is not the greatest movie. It's even confusing at times, especially towards the end. However, the movie holds a special place in my viewing history for a few reasons. As a small child, between the ages of 3 and 5, Neil Diamond was my absolute favorite artist. According to my parents, all I'd listened to was Neil Diamond. I'd listened to his records, his tapes, even his 8-tracks. Yes, I am old enough to remember 8-tracks. The legend goes, when people would ask my name, I'd say, Neil Diamond. I seem to block this memory out, but my parents like to remind me anytime they can. I do remember having an extra stocking hanging on the mantle for Neil during Christmas. Of course, the ironic part being that Neil Diamond is Jewish. It's a minor detail. My family had a copy of The Jazz Singer, which was taped by my uncle who had HBO. We didn't actually have cable in my house till I think it was 8th grade. This copy of Jazz Singer lived in infamy with my family because halfway through the movie, the channel suddenly changed and we were stuck watching the Lou Grant show starring Ed Asner. For years, I had no idea how 5 to 10 minutes of the movie went. The mention of Lou Grant will always bring laughs to my family, even 30 years later. So while the movie leaves a lot to be desired, the soundtrack is really stellar, and many of his better-known hits were on this album, like America, Love on the Rocks, and Hello Again.
I'll smack you in the mouth, I'm Neil Diamond!
Number 8 is UHF from 1989. Now, often my dad would shame me and when he saw a trailer on TV back then and would say, oh, that's your type of movie. Well, yes, it was my type of movie. So I had no shame in watching movies like this. But it was just incredibly hilarious to watch when I was a kid, and Weird Al Yankovic was very popular at the time. And to be honest, I just watched UHF not too long ago after going through my DVD collection. I still think it's pretty funny. So either my sense of humor hasn't progressed since I was 10, or I was way ahead of the time at my age. But it's probably best not to dwell on that thought. So in addition to Weird Al, you also get Michael Richards just before he took the role as Kramer on Seinfeld. Also, Kevin McCarthy is great as the evil TV station executive. You might remember him. He played the lead character in the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So some of my favorite commercials and fake shows from the movie were Wheel of Fish, where you had the main character going, "You're so stupid," when they would get their question wrong. There was Spatula City, Gandhi 2, The Revenge, and Conan the Librarian. All really fun stuff.
Today, one of these lucky contestants will win his or her weight in fish right here on Wheel of Fish! Okay, let's play the game. We start with yesterday's winner, Miss Phyllis Weaver. Are you ready, Weaver?
I sure am, Cooney.
Okay, you get over there and spin the wheel of fish. Go ahead, give it a big spin. A red snapper. It's very tasty. Okay, Weaver, listen carefully. You can hold on to your red snapper, or you can go for what's in the box that Hiro-san is bringing down the aisle right now. What's it gonna be?
I'll take the box! The box!
You took the box. Let's see what's in the box. Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
Number 7 on my list are pretty much the first 4 Police Academy movies. If you grew up in the 80s and you like stupid comedies, Police Academy was kind of required viewing. So I watched a lot of those movies as a kid, and I wouldn't call one better than the other. They're kind of all fun in their own way. Though after the fourth movie, I kind of stopped caring as much. But in any case, the original movie is actually, I wouldn't call it the best, but it kind of started everything, and it did really well in the box office, was why they kept making sequels. So Police Academy was my introduction to Steve Guttenberg and Kim Cattrall. Guttenberg seemed to be a staple of 80s comedies, starring in a lot of movies like Cocoon and 3 Men and a Baby, and then of course Kim Cattrall went on to star in Sex and the City. The Police Academy movies were completely ridiculous, and that's what I loved about them. The pranks and antics were perfect for me. And how can you not love the Blue Oyster Bar, which was the gay bar that people would end up going to by accident, and it was always funny because it was like a biker leather bar that was, super funny. So once you hear the theme song of the horns, that was like, you knew that they were going to that bar, and you couldn't help but start laughing. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. Number 6 is Dragnet from 1987. So this is a parody movie based on the original. It was originally an old-time radio show, then it was a TV show in the 60s starring Jack Webb, who played a straight-laced police detective named Joe Friday. However, this version starred Dan Aykroyd in the Jack Webb character, and then his partner was played by Tom Hanks. Yes, Tom Hanks used to do comedies back then. But anyway, my mom loved the TV show from the 60s and decided to take me to the theater to see this when it came out, and I absolutely loved it. Dan Aykroyd is absolutely perfect playing Joe Friday, and he really kind of played it with this, kind of a tongue-in-cheek, straight-lace, but he was just great. And so Hanks plays Aykroyd's younger but free-spirited partner and tries to loosen up the tightly wound cop. As a result, the duo gets in all sorts of trouble, making for pretty much a hilarious movie. But my favorite scene, which I'm going to play for you next, involves Kathleen Freeman, who was also in the Blues Brothers, and she played the nun, otherwise known as the Penguin. The amount of obscenities that come out of her mouth in such a short period of time is absolutely hysterical. I used to watch this scene over and over and just laugh and laugh, much to the dismay of my parents.
We had been advised to follow up on a theft at 88-23467 Magnolia Boulevard. At this time of day, it took us 20 minutes to get there. The complainant was the landlady, one Enid Borden. Some pagan cards had been found.
What the hell do you want?
Police officers, ma'am.
About time you pencil dick showed up. Why couldn't you have got here before that big, bad, stupid-looking piece of sewage breath stole my white wedding dress?
Miss Borden, sewage breath would be your little nickname for...
Muzz. Emil Muzz.
Not much of an improvement.
That asswipe also stiffed me for 2 months' rent when his deposit check bounced. Goddamn puss-faced little pimp stick. All that was left in this room was a big box of these things.
Any idea where this Emil Muzz could be right now? Friends, family?
Nah, he was a loner. Took off in the middle of the night. Useless scum-lapping shitbag.
Just the facts, ma'am. He leave anything else behind?
Yeah, tape deck, which I had to sell to make up for the lost rent, so there's nothing you can do about it, you slimy little jizz bucket.
Yes, ma'am, although I should point out to you that technically you could be cited for swearing at us like that.
Says who, flathead?
It says the California Penal Code, Section 314.1, covering obscene live conduct in public. Good enough for you, lady?
Them magazines and papers were his down in the trash. No checks or money, I looked. I should have thrown it all in the river the day he left, but unlike some people, I have a heart, goddammit. That miserable little bag of puke.
I think we're finished here, don't you, Detective Strebeck?
Number 5 on my list is Back to School from 1986. You can see a theme. I like a lot of 80s movies, but whatever. That's what I like. With the exception of Caddyshack, Back to School is the best Rodney Dangerfield movie. Back to School is basically old school before old school. It's completely a farcical premise, which is why it works so well, because Rodney never takes himself too seriously. And even though I was 8 or 9 at the time when I first saw this, it made me really look forward to going to college. My dad ended up buying the soundtrack just for the song Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo, which is a great song. But the best scene in the movie is with the legendary comedian, and now deceased, Sam Kinison, who plays Rodney Dangerfield's very demented and short-tempered history teacher. It was absolutely priceless. Also, Robert Downey Jr. is in this movie as the main character's friend, and he had one scene where he's just totally hilarious.
So why don't we dive right in by interpreting one of the easiest events in the last 20 years of American history. Now, can someone tell me why in 1975 we pulled our troops out of Vietnam?
The failure of Vietnamization to impart their support caused an ongoing erosion of confidence in the various American but illegal Saigon regimes.
Is she right? Because I know that's the popular version of what went on there. I know a lot of people like to believe that. I wish I could, but I was there. I wasn't here in the classroom, hoping I was right, thinking about it. I was up to my knees in rice paddies with guns, and then we're going up against Charlie, slugging it out with him, while pussies like you were back here partying, putting headbands on, doing drugs, listening to the goddamn Beatle albums.
Hey, Professor, take it easy, will you? I mean, these kids, they were in grade school at the time. And me, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover.
Well, I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper. But since you want to help, maybe you can help me, okay? You remember that thing we had about 30 years ago called the Korean conflict? Yeah, where we failed to achieve victory. How come we didn't cross the 38th parallel and push those rice eaters back to the Great Wall of China and take the brick and nuke them back into the fucking Stone Age River? Oh, God damn it! Why? Say it! Say it!
All right, I'll say it. Because Truman was too much of a pussy wimp to let MacArthur go in there and blow out those commie bastards.
Good answer. Good answer. I like the way you think. I'm gonna be watching you.
A good teacher. He really seems to care. About what, I have no idea. Oh, I love 3 girls at once. If I fall asleep, I'll each other to talk to.
Nice look. What are you going for? The heavy disassociated artist thing or the ongoing blind thing? Huh? Oh, it's the death thing. Oh! This will cheer you up. Oh, do me.
Derek, get up, will you? You look like the poster boy for birth control.
Number 4 is Dirty Work from 1998. Dirty Work has turned into sort of a cult classic, but I loved it when it was first released and always thought it was underrated as a modern screwball comedy. There are tons of hilarious scenes and great cameos from Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, Chevy Chase, Don Rickles, and Gary Coleman. Norm Macdonald is the star of the movie and basically plays himself, so if you're a fan of his work, you'll appreciate this movie. Dirty Work also stars Artie Lang, and this was the first time I saw him, because then a few years later he would go on to star on The Howard Stern Show. And speaking of Artie, one of the funniest scenes in the movie is with him and Don Rickles. Now, Rickles makes fun of everyone, but from what I heard, he basically ad-libbed this entire scene that I'm going to play for you next. It's just so much fun. Often I will say, "You baby gorilla." The other really funny scene is Chris Farley, who often talks about when a Saigon whore bit his nose off, and you know how Chris Farley speaks, and so the inflection in his voice just sells it.
All right. Everybody line up, huh? Line up, don't be dummies, just get in line. That's fine. Gentlemen, members of the National Office are coming here tonight for their annual inspection of this theater. Right now, I'm going to explain to you my managing style for the benefit of the new guys. So there you are, Tubby. You look like a bucket of lard on a bad day. You baby gorilla. Why don't you work a zoo and stop bothering people? Got a call yesterday from Baskin-Robbins. They said that they're down to only 5 flavors. You're swelling up as I talk to you. Look at you. How's this? How's it doing? Hello, ice cream. Having a good time? Running around? What are you laughing at? Because I called your friend a fat pig, huh? You think that's funny?
Oh, no, I was just laughing earlier when you were talking to his belly.
Did you get a horse and live in the mountains someplace and don't bother anybody? Got a personality like a dead moth. Okay, the fun's over. Anybody messes this thing up for me tonight is through. Not only are you fired, your life is over. I'll see to it that you never work again and that you wind up tearing tickets off in Kuwait. Salam alamala, kalamala, and everybody sucking sand. Nobody messes up. You understand me? Don't mess up.
Jimmy, your new nose looks great.
Thanks. Best $200 I ever spent.
Hey, Jimmy, that girl you're with, she's not the,
Yep. Lynn Young, the Saigon whore who bit my nose off. We're getting hitched.
Oh.
Jimmy, let's go.
Hold on, I'm talking to my friend here. Jeez. Sometimes you gotta remind the hen who the rooster is.
Well, good luck to you, Jimmy.
Okay, Mitch. See you around. Blah, 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 blah.
When I say let's go, you go.
Yeah? Time you shut your cake hole, Yoko. Women. Now listen, don't ever talk back to me like that in front of my friends.
You're making me really, really angry.
Oh, that scares me. That scares me to death. Look. Oh, you bit my new nose off. Damn it.
Number 3 is the Kentucky Fried Movie from 1977. I remember loving this movie as a kid, and since Airplane was one of my favorite movies growing up, it was only natural that I would gravitate to the Kentucky Fried Movie since it featured the same writers that wrote Airplane. It has the absurd humor that I'm fond of. There's really no plot. It's like a series of sketches. Again, like I said, no plot. It's film parodies, faux commercials, and really kind of similar to Saturday Night Live, but way more risque. So if you're a fan of Airplane or Naked Gun, you'll probably like the Kentucky Fried Movie.
I remember the day the girls came over for bridge club. I was so embarrassed because of lingering odors.
Fish for dinner last night?
Phew, Harvey's still smoking those cigars? Christ, did a cow shit in here?
Number 2 is Billy Madison from 1995. Now, I often get a lot of shit because I adore Adam Sandler movies. I think it's the epitome of guilty pleasure movies. Yeah, they're lowbrow and they kind of follow the same theme and they're corny, but That's what I want. I don't want to be depressed all the time. His movies never make me depressed. So all you film snobs can mock me all you want, but it doesn't bother me. I'm going to watch his movies. As long as he puts them out, I'm going to watch them. As for Billy Madison, this was Adam Sandler's first starring role in a movie and is still one of his best. I put best in quotes. So I've been a fan of Sandler mostly due to his comedy albums, and I always loved Billy Madison, especially when it came out. So the movie is completely ridiculous, but there's so many funny things to quote and mimic that you eventually throw out all reasonable logic. You know, the logic being this is a kid that has to go back to, it's not a kid anymore, he's an adult. He has to go back to school, start from kindergarten through high school, and pass, you know, every grade so he can get his father's business, played by Darren McGavin. I know, it's stupid, but who cares? So anyway, quotable things are like everything from, I see you, penguin, or it's nudie magazine day, or don't tell me my business, devil woman. He called the shit poop. Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Nice piece of shit. My, oh my, wait till old man Clemens realizes it's a bag of shit. He gonna shit when he realizes it's shit. Who got the lighter? Light it. Oh my God, old man Clemens hates shit. Here he comes.
What the hell is it? What do you want? Judas Priest Barber is one of those flaming bags again.
Don't put it out with your boots, Tad.
Don't tell me my business, devil woman. Call the fire department. This one's out of control. Poop again.
He called the shit poop.
This is the best night of my life. I'll get you damn kids for this. You're all gonna die.
You made it all the way to number 1. And it's probably a movie you never even heard of, so you're going to have to go out and see it now. My number 1 favorite guilty pleasure movie of all time is Rhinestone from 1984. So a lot of critics and non-critics absolutely trash this movie. I'm definitely in the minority because I love this movie. I loved it as a kid, and I still love it as an adult. And I'll admit, the premise is ridiculous. Dolly Parton makes a bet with her agent that she can turn anyone into a country singer. Enter New York City cab driver Sylvester Stallone, and the hilarity begins. I have no idea why I remember this, but I'm almost positive that this movie was on the same VHS tape as The Natural starring Robert Redford. I'm pretty sure my uncle taped both movies off of HBO for us. Anyway, going back to the plot, basically if Stallone doesn't win over the crowd at the extremely finicky Rhinestone Club, Dolly doesn't get to tear up her old contract with her slimy agent and must renew for an additional 5 years with him. One fun trivia note about this film is Stallone actually turned down the role in Romancing the Stone for this movie. And that went to Michael Douglas. Oops. The funniest scene in the movie is, I'm going to play it next, but when I was a kid, I would just roll on the floor cracking up after hearing this song. The background to this scene is a new artist is trying to break in at the Rhinestone, and you get to see how the crowd treats new artists. The lyrics are absolutely priceless, along with the reaction in the crowd. So please enjoy. After this clip, you'll hear all the rest of the Guilty Pleasure movies, and I'll come back to wrap up everything.
Let's give a very warm Rhinestone reception to the incredible, real cowboy, the effervescent, the intoxicated, Mr. Elgar Rhinestone. Yo! Hey! Big bad job! Send it back to the job!
Shut up!
You blow that thing one more time, son, you're gonna be eating it for a midnight snack. You understand me?
This guy's serious.
How serious can he be? He's got a duck on his shirt.
This is a song I wrote for my baby. Well, I left my home when I was 22, but I never did find my time or place. It's just the kind of thing a man has to do with a scar on his soul. like the one on his face and the emptiness inside. From the day my baby died.
I coached him myself. He'll finish. You wait.
It was a Sunday, June morning, and the sun broke high. I had a smile on my face, and I knew just why. Didn't hear no warning, didn't fear no storm. I knew for sure on that very morn that girl was gonna be my bride. It was the day my baby died.
It's great. Keep it down.
In a long white gown and a bridal bouquet, how I begged her not to plow the fields that day. Oh, her beauty never stops. She felt a duty to her crops.
Duty? Duty
She
to
jumped
crops?
in the old John Deere.
crops?
And she drove away. Hey, hey. She said, baby, don't you worry. This'll only take a minute. But the wheels caught her gown and dragged her down in it. Imagine my surprise when I looked her in the eyes. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. The tractor cut her down the side. Oh, how the hands of fate they cracked her 'neath the wheels of her daddy's tractor. There was blood on the corn and brains on the hay. I ran as fast as I could, but all I found was chunks of my sweetie smeared all around big hunks of my darling on the cold, cold ground. Oh, yeah. Hey, this really happened to my Loretta.
Get out of here.
So we're back with Sarah, who I think just almost threw up.
Kombucha's not the business. I don't understand why everybody likes that stuff.
Is that your guilty pleasure?
No,
kombucha?
that's like, I want it to be healthy, you know, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, everyone's healthy, and then you're like, ugh. No. Never.
I don't know if we can recover from this, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do guilty pleasure movies this week, and so you think you have one, so I'm dying to know what this is.
Wait, did it just... Oh, Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh, that's a brilliant one. Yes.
That is... And actually... I have some of the music on my iPod.
That's even
better. And
better.
I'm scared when people are with me and I'm like, oh, what? What's next? Because they're like, what is that? I'm like, nothing.
I'm surprised you didn't pick that for favorite soundtrack.
You know what? No, because it's kind of like, it's just mostly one band. And it's probably because I like the movie and it reminds me of the parts in the movie.
Yeah. John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown
Band. Yeah, which is a really kind of kooky name as it is. But the end of that, I remember as a kid watching that movie. Have you seen it?
Oh, of course. I've seen And Eddie Lives, too.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That one was probably not the best sequel.
No.
We'll have to file that. But the ending of that, as a kid when I saw that, and when the music goes off and like you see his reflection, I was like, it was just like this most eerie kind of spooky, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, where I was just... Anyway, but so if that movie is ever on, I will watch it every time, all the time. Like you just wherever it is, you catch it and you know it. But most of the time, they cut out any of the.
What happened to the Eddie, like the actor? Like I don't was.
He Michael Pere, yeah. I love him.
Yeah, well,
that brings me to my next guilty pleasure movie, which would be Streets of Fire.
Yep.
Which is actually, you are the only other person in the world, I think, that's seen it, maybe. But it has like an amazing group of actors. It had like Rick Moranis and was it Bill Paxton Pullman? Which one is it? Chet from freaking Weird. Who played Chet in Weird Science?
I think it's
a Bill something.
Paxton. I want to say Paxton.
Yeah, he was like in Big Love or whatever.
Yes.
Diane Lane, like it's like a huge and kind of musical-ish.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't know that when I first saw it that they were not singers, so it was acceptable.
That's a great one.
Otherwise, it wouldn't. So that's probably two of my. They're both Michael Pere movies. Yeah, he was in the Philadelphia Experiment too, which was,
Okay, and then I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Over the Top and the story behind this.
Oh, this is the best story ever. This is why we're so
we're
tight.
buddies.
This is why
exactly.
So what brought up that we were talking about movies?
I think basically you were saying that your babysitter were 80s movies.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's what, because my parents didn't care where I was.
We kept talking about basically like movies that were terrible in the 80s, but
and
we
songs.
loved.
I think you must have started bringing up Footloose, and I thought Kenny Loggins, and I go, oh my God, there's this one song I love from a movie I never got to see because now it's so obscure. Like, you're never going to find a DVD or whatever. And you're like, it's funny you should say that.
I happen to own it.
I was like, no way, you do not own it all. You're lying. It's the Sylvester Stallone and the semi and the arm wrestling, and you're like, yep.
And I don't think you even believe me. That's why I came back the same day to give it to you.
When you walked in, I was like, and I totally went home that night. I'm so watching this, and I like close my blinds and I like look around. Does anybody know that I'm watching this? So
the funny part is, I'm pretty sure you put it away because it was almost like I was giving you a porno tape.
Totally, I like went and put it in the drawer, and I'm all shh. Don't want anybody to see it and be like, what are they doing? I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, this actually is existence? Like, it was. It was like, black market porn, but it was Sylvester
but it was
Stallone.
Over the Top.
Whatever happened to the kid in that movie?
That's a good one, yes. And then, obviously, Bull Hurley, the guy with the, you're mine, Hawk.
Oh my, I actually think I need to see that a couple more times, too, so I can quote more of the lines to you.
Maybe we should do like a Mystery Science 2000 or 3000 and just comment the whole movie.
God, I don't even know, like, if people could handle that.
It'd be too much.
We'd be hilarious. We would probably get our own show at that point.
Probably, I agree.
Somebody would approach.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
When I get to the table, that person, I don't care who they are, they're my mortal enemy. I hate them. I'm not so enthused about people coming up and patting me on the back saying you're the best. I don't need people to do that to me. If I win, it's just because I wanted to be the best one time in my life.
My whole body is an engine. This is a fire plug, and I'm going to light him up.
I drive truck, break arms, and arm wrestle. It's what I love to do. It's what I do best.
Okay, so we're here with Dane this week, and we're going to go through our guilty pleasure movies. And so for some people, it's a big deal. For other people, it's not. I don't think it's a big deal, but we'll see what people say this week.
What, having a guilty pleasure movie at all?
Yeah, because, that's why movies are great.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere with them. So
I guess the thing is, most people have way more than one guilty pleasure movie.
Sure, absolutely. So
maybe it is a big deal if people were really to reveal how many guilty pleasure movies.
But one person,
they don't really feel that guilty about it.
Right, and then one person's guilty pleasure is another one's like that should be popular anyway.
Best movie ever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
for some people, Encino Man is the best movie ever.
Come on, no, let's not go that far. Encino Man,
my guilty pleasure.
Or Biodome. How about Biodome?
Oh, Biodome.
Yeah, that's another
yeah. Boy, that was kind of at the tail end of Pauly Shore's career.
It was, and
I like Jury Duty.
Jury Duty was fun, and Son-in-Law wasn't bad. And
I didn't really like Son-in-Law or In the Army Now. Or it's kind of funny. He followed right after Ernest.
Yeah, there we go.
The guy's real Jim Varney.
Yeah.
As the new kind of chucklehead, ridiculous guy who has a series of movies for some reason.
But it's crazy how popular both of them. I mean, I know because of MTV, Pauly Shore really kind of took off with the Wheeze and everything. But where the hell did Ernest kind of get his fame? Yeah.
I saw him on an episode at one of the later episodes of Roseanne.
Really?
So, but of course, that was still back in his heyday, closer to it. He played some. Remember after they got rich in that show?
Yeah.
Like won the lottery. Totally threw their whole working class credit under the bus.
Exactly.
It's very unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
And so the aunt, Jackie, she starts dating some Austrian heir.
Okay.
Whatever. And Jim Varney plays that guy.
That's great. But I remember dragging my dad along to one of the Ernest movies. He's like, never again am I doing this.
It's pretty inane. It's pretty bad. I mean, I dare say worse than a Pauly Shore movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, Jim Varney's aimed at kids, I guess. And then Pauly Shore more at, like, teenage people.
Exactly.
And 20-somethings.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes it ever so slightly less idiotic. Anyway, I was going to talk about...
this is the fun part about the podcast. We can go in any direction.
That was some heady, high-level talk about what I'm about to bring up.
Well, Pauly Shore, I don't know if you're into comedians at all, but Mitzi Shore, ran the Comedy Cellar in L.A.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. I actually watched that documentary about him. It was on Showtime.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I remember him talking about that.
Yeah.
Right? So that explains how he got his foot in the door.
Exactly.
I don't know if who Jim Varney's parents were.
No, I don't know. Or that's Vern. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so your guilty pleasure movie. I like this because this is my era.
Yeah,
so.
This is a lot of people's guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah,
it's Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah,
yeah, and it kind of has come back as a cult film. It's been acknowledged, and I was right after high school. I graduated in the late '90s, and right after high school, I developed a special relationship with the Garbage Pail Kids movie. A friend of mine also loved it, and we would constantly rent it on VHS. And we rented it so many times. This is South Sacramento, where I grew up. We rented it so many times that the guy said, "You just want to buy the video." He said, "No one else ever rents it."
We'll make it a deal.
So after we spent probably $50 renting it, he sells it to us for like $20 or something. And then a few years after that, it goes up on Netflix, and all of that was just moot. I mean,
right. Well, that's why I was talking to someone. Renting VHS movies was such a racket because literally you gladly hand out $2 a week and everything, but I mean, but nobody bought VHS movies back then. They're too expensive. They're like $90.
I remember they were like $90, $100. It was crazy. Yeah. I remember at Tower, to see them.
Absolutely.
Tower Music, and it's like, and they'd have these big plastic boxes that were like flotation devices.
Exactly. That's my.
It's astonishing to think people pay like $100 for like Scrooged on VHS or something.
But you weren't going to buy it, so you might as well. You could easily pay off that tape in a couple weeks.
Yeah. The only thing more embarrassing than like student loan debt for a major that did not help you get a job is to have years of video fines accumulating.
Oh my God, it's true.
Interest.
So did you actually collect the cards and everything?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
About 10 years prior to this video situation, I would the cards.
So what was your
I would ride my bike for miles to pick up
absolutely.
1 or 2 packs.
Yeah. So what was your card?
I don't have any one special, but I don't know what booger themed would be popular. I think.
Did they actually
booger
do your
fart?
Did they actually do your name? Like, because mine was Fry Brian, I think.
No, I have an unusual name. It's Dane. I mean, it rhymes with a lot of stuff.
Right, but
it could have.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised I didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
even if it was Dane, even though it isn't spelled the same.
Right.
But yeah.
So it's kind of unusual on top of being a little unusual. So
yeah.
Sadly, Dane Cook popularized.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, like single-handedly, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Garbage Pail Kids. It was the music in it was bad / awesome.
Yeah.
So much about it. It just them deciding to go live action with that just made a world of difference.
Yeah. But actually, this is a good one because it's also eventually we'll do cult classics, and that's got to be one of the cult classics. I think
it's lower on the cool factor than like Repo Man.
Sure, that's like the ultimate, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So some cult movies you're certainly not embarrassed to admit you like,
but this one,
this one's a little bit bad.
Well, I appreciate you admitting it, so this is cool.
Well, so awesome. Renting that so many times, I just that practice, what we did, just has dated. Has been badly dated.
Yeah, I mean, because even people still use Redbox, but it's all streaming now. So
yeah.
Meet the Garbage Pail Kids, starring Nat Nerd, Windy Winston, Messy Tessie, Alligator, Valerie Vomit, Lisa Gray.
I'm gonna get fired for this.
Foul Phil. Nice in the totes.
The Garbage Pail Kids movie. They may not be pretty, but boy, they make great friends.
Okay, so we're here in Rika, who is always good. She took a week off last week because gangster films just weren't in the cards when she was growing up.
Yeah, no, I just never was exposed to them. My parents, I'm Italian American, and my parents were always affected by the mafia in New York, and had this over melodramatic response to any entertainment associated with Italian Americans in New York. They're like, you can't watch that.
Understandable.
Which is fine. But then as an adult, I haven't gone back to watching them. So that's something that I have to do.
So you listened to last week's episode?
Yeah.
And
I have all these ideas now.
Well, my personal top 10 are all from the 30s and 40s. So that might be...
it's a different world.
Totally different. Well, as I was trying to explain in that show, the mafia was Capone was still around when they were making these movies.
It's not like these were made to be and I tried to explain it to my parents. It was you can't just make them into, denying that this is a problem.
Right.
They were supposed to be like a narrative that helped us see the problem through
time.
like a different lens.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
What was crazy is the gangsters at the time actually enjoyed watching these films too. It was like, hey, I'm on the big screen, So, all right,
crazy.
Guilty pleasure movies.
Guilty pleasures.
I want to hear all about this. What are your guilty pleasure movies?
A lot of them fall to like silly rom-coms, and I feel like they're really stupid. So one of the...
I've never heard be called rom-com before. And for the older people out here, my parents, that means romantic comedy. You're welcome.
Romantic comedies. Yeah, so I watched 2 romantic comedies obsessively over and over and over again as a child. And a lot of this is because we didn't have cable television. Like, I didn't grow up with cable television. So we would, like, rent random movies. Yeah. And then I would just record them to VHS. And that was my entertainment. I would watch them over and over. One of them was The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey. Yes. And the other was Runaway Bride with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. And these two, I'm looking back at them. And a lot of them actually, well, the 2 of them, have a common theme, which is like the self-discovery of the woman, right? Like, so yeah, they're kind of abhorrent on like the quality level. Yes. Like the dialogue is horrible and like the acting is ridiculous. And there's nothing good.
But when it's on, you have to watch.
Yeah, because one, I know every word.
Sure.
And 2, I'm just like, I know these stories like the back of my hand. I feel like I've internalized them, and like the main theme is, okay, you're a woman who is living a life based on fantasy, right?
Sure.
And you have to accept certain aspects of reality and real relationships in real life before you can like accept yourself into them and then get all the things you want out of life, right? So when you're a teenage girl, and you're like influenced by all these external forces, you're like, oh, I can be my own person. So it sticks with you. But it's still, like, as an adult, you watch them and you're like, oh my God.
So can you watch these now and be... Can you still get in the moment you had as a kid, or is it just...
Oh, totally.
Okay,
that's what's so fascinating to me about guilty pleasures. Yeah. Is, like, you watch them again and again and again, and every time you still feel that same sense of satisfaction.
Right.
So, like... I don't know why that would be or how they do that. But, like, every time I watch it, I still feel that same sense of, like, aw, and oh, yay, she did it. Or, like, good job.
Yeah. But I guess there's a sense of comfort in what you already know. Like, there's going to be no surprises. Whatever at that moment in time, it makes you feel better. It's kind of like music, like the music you grew up with.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, even if you don't, you're like, I don't really like it anymore. You can still listen to it now and appreciate it because it brings you back to that time.
Yeah, and like my mom, I would watch them over and over, and my mom would like hear me watching them again and be like, how can you watch that over and over? You know it's going to happen. Right. It's like, for some reason, even though you know it's going to happen, the journey and like the experience of watching it is still the same.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's so cool.
I wonder if it's comedies in general, like they're just more repeat viewing than dramas, or I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't like to experience pain over and over.
Exactly.
Right? So, like, when I see something that's, like, really dramatic and really sad and, it has this beautiful message at the end or whatever, I'm like, great, but I do not want to experience that again.
Right. Whereas action, I guess action I could do over and over again.
Repeatable, totally. I used to watch a couple of action movies. I used to watch Phone Booth over and over again. With Colin Farrell. Where he's in a phone booth on the phone with a terrorist.
Yes.
Like the whole time. And then like a whole bunch of snipers come out and shit, and he has to like keep terrorists on the phone. I watched it so many times. Why? I don't know, because it was so exciting.
But you only watched Ransom once.
I couldn't watch Ransom again. There are a lot of action movies I watched over and over.
Yeah.
With my brother mostly. We watched Sphere over and over. That was more sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sci-fi you can get away with over and over again.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's like kind of mentally challenging sometimes to watch. But like the romantic comedies, man, I could watch those.
Okay, so was that the second movie that Julia Roberts and Richard Gere were in?
Yeah, they did Pretty Woman.
Of course, yeah. And that one didn't do it for you, like
Pretty Woman?
Yeah, like The Runaway Bride.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. It's not really of my time.
Sure.
So I didn't really get it when I watched it. And now that I watched it again recently, I was like, this is so much better.
It is,
like,
yeah. There's a reason why people remember that one. But I'll never forget, my parents wouldn't let me watch Pretty Woman.
Because she's a prostitute.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically a Cinderella story.
It's very suggestive.
Yeah, it's a Cinderella story about a prostitute, so
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted to go there. But I ended up watching it at a friend's house, and I was like, well, I don't see the big deal.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's definitely suggestive stuff, and I get why, especially if you have daughters, like, this isn't really...
Yeah.
This isn't going to happen. I'm sorry.
I think anything that, like, promotes or romanticizes a life of, like, selling your body, and it's okay because you'll be rescued by a man.
Right.
That you can attack that message from, like, any angle.
Yeah.
If you're conservative and you just don't want women to become prostitutes.
Yeah.
And if you're a feminist and you're like, a man shouldn't have to save you.
Yeah.
Like, both ways it works.
It's not just any man. It's like a very successful...
a sugar daddy,
exactly.
specifically.
Yes, the epitome.
So, yeah. But I still loved it. Like,
oh, sure. It's...
I don't think it was malicious. I think it's just like a fun story about a cool characters who fall in love, and that's just what
I think that's the key to anything. A good story is a good story, regardless of whatever your beliefs are.
Implications.
Exactly.
I think that's why I like the topic of guilty pleasures. Is because you feel guilty liking it for like the broader social implications. But it's important to address like, wait, why do we like these stories and feel guilty about liking them?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just like
what we like.
Stories.
That's right.
We just like to hear stories that are funny or entertaining.
Absolutely.
Or interesting.
No one interviews Maggie in here without a haircut.
Sorry, no, just got one.
Excuse me, sir. I have a fact for you. It's an actual fact.
Yes, Miss Pressman.
You know, this is actually her 4th wedding, not her 7th, like they said.
I know. But tell me something. Do you think she's going to make it all the way this time?
I don't know. She swallowed her gum. She does that. Mr. Shillian, he runs the newsstand. He's also our local bookie, you know?
Ah, yes.
He's given 8-to-1 odds that she won't.
Okay.
Instead of a haircut, how about a wash? Get all that city grit out of your hair.
You'll answer my questions. Fine. You wash, I'll ask.
Okay, we have, as David just pointed out, a true round table here. The table is round. It's very intimate, and this is perfect because everyone's voice will pick up fine. Okay, so we're doing guilty pleasure movies. This could be movies that were just box office busts and you still like it, or it could just be you're mocked by friends because you should be more highbrow. But whatever it is.
I'm very highbrow.
Okay, yes. So you're going to mock all of our choices, but that's okay.
I am not ashamed of any movie that I
That's
watch,
perfect. That's what
even
we
if
want.
it's just garbage.
I'm kidding.
I will still enjoy it for a little bit.
Okay, so give me one.
I just watched Ouija Origins of Evil last night. And I do not recommend. Well, I recommend it for like a dumb Netflix movie, but I would not recommend going to the theater and paying $15 for it.
And this is a sequel.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Although, aside from the Ouija board itself, I don't see any other direct correlation to the first.
And we'll go to Samantha. So name a movie that is your guilty pleasure, new or old.
My favorite movie of all time,
Yeah.
which is not like my favorite movie that I tell people, it's 10 Things I Hate About You.
I love that movie.
Oh. Well, so I get a lot of mixed things. Like it's because it's just a silly high school movie.
Well, of course.
But it's a great film.
And it's based
Just
on
great performances.
It's based on the Shakespeare. What was it?
Yeah.
Taming of the Shrew.
Taming
That's
of the
right.
Shrew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always got that and Can't Hardly Wait. Always confused, even though they're it's kind of the same
They're
era.
different.
Yeah, they are totally different.
Can't Hardly Wait all like revolved around that party and stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I don't know why.
I love all those like late 90s, early 2000s high school movies.
Yeah.
Like She's the Man. That's another fabulous
She's
one.
the Man was really good.
That's a great
It had
movie.
a young Channing Tatum in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And oh my god, what's the other one? Oh, She's All That. Yeah, just let's continue that.
Okay, what about Bring It On?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I hit a nerve.
Sure.
Did you see Stick It?
Oh yeah.
It was like the
is
same
that the
people.
gymnast one?
Yeah. It was like the same team behind Bring It On, so it was like very that same quirky like weird girl sport thing.
Oh yeah.
It was. That's a good guilty pleasure.
That's a
actually.
good one.
I like that one.
So Bring It On was before Spider-Man, right? So this is before.
It was like
yeah. It was like in between her like Interview with a Vampire and then like Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, that's right.
And, that was when she did like Virgin Suicides.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
so I will follow up with another good weird high school movie that it's like definitely guilty pleasure. I was trying to differentiate between guilty pleasure and just like underrated. Sure. Because I have like a lot of good underrated ones. Yeah. That I figure you'll get to that eventually.
Yeah. So you can put it all
saving
in.
Those.
Okay, you can save them. Yeah.
To counter for like a weird high school movie, Sky High.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
So good.
So masterpiece.
Good. It came out like in 2005, like a month after Batman Begins. Yeah. So like after the revolution of like everything needs to be dark and gritty and so it was just like real bad timing because it was like marketed as just like this Disney trash, like, really like lighthearted and bright colors, and very comic booky. So just like the worst possible release time ever. But yeah, it was basically just the same kind of like high school trope of the different cliques and stuff, and but it just happened to be kind of a blend of superheroes as well. And yeah, like the cameos of like Linda Carter was in it, and the mom and dad was like Kurt
Russell.
Kurt Russell.
Okay.
Yeah, Kurt Russell. Yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah. And to back, can you trump that, Samantha?
No. I hit a wall.
After high school movies, it's just like I got nothing. You're going to more highbrow after that.
No, I love Will Ferrell as well. So if
That's
you want to
good.
go into that,
yes,
genre,
we can definitely.
Oh, I've seen all of them. I love Talladega Nights.
Oh yeah,
I could quote that at one point, but
we're gonna do most quotable movies, and so that could be one that you can do.
Yeah, it's definitely different than what I go out to watch.
I would have never guessed that you really like Will Ferrell. So you obviously old school, obviously Kicking and Screaming.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
a pretty younger demographic. I mean, I think I just watched it once.
Yeah, that was a real dumb one.
My dick is in it.
Yeah. What was the one? Stranger Than Fiction?
Yeah, that was one.
Oh,
which was actually like a
pretty
good movie.
Yeah.
Like more underrated than embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing that in the theater and like walking out with the friend that I was with, and we were both like, that was like actually like a good drama movie. Like, what?
It's kind of his Spotless Mind for Jim Carrey, like that.
His like turn.
Curveball.
He tried to do something like indie and deep.
Okay, Step Brothers.
Step Brothers that's fine.
Okay.
I never caught on to the bandwagon with that. But I like Talladega Nights is my favorite.
That's the favorite.
Anchorman and Blades of Glory.
That was Blades of Glory,
Just fabulous.
Yes.
Him, Amy Poehler.
The weird incestuous.
The weird brother-sister duo. Yeah.
You are a smelly pirate hooker. Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?
The Game Plan.
Okay, I don't know this one. What's in this? Who's in this?
It is a 2007 movie starring The Rock.
Oh, this movie!
Yeah. Where he finds out he has like a daughter, and he's like this big like asshole.
Oh, I do know this. Yes.
And then it's like a dumb Disney movie. I was homesick, like just like one day, like in college, whatever, and it was just like on, Stars or whatever, and maybe it was my weekend state or whatever, but I still hold it very fondly. Like his relationship with the little girl, it's a really stupid movie, but
this is the epitome of a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
This is great.
But I will also watch The Rock do anything.
Sure.
So.
Well, he was just voted sexiest man alive
there
by
you go.
People Magazine.
I would vote for that. Yeah. I will also watch Vin Diesel do anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Chronicles of Riddick.
Yep.
So when I saw it in 2004, I legit was like, this is a really good movie, and then like everybody else in the world hated it. And I was like, I don't get it. Like it's it's dumb, but it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
And like the sci-fi stuff that they're trying to go for, like it's pretty like dorky.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I really liked it. Let's see, so the rest are all like comic book related.
That's
so
fine.
If Sam wants to hop in,
I'm gonna fall asleep.
You can do research while you're going through this.
The '97 Spawn movie.
Oh my god. Okay.
Real bad, but for the time, the CG was like pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was like one of the earlier, like R-rated, like comic movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like real gross, and like the demons were all slimy, and I thought it was really cool. As a kid, I probably thought it was really cool. Now looking back, it
doesn't hold up as well.
It's a 90s, like it has its place. But and then Constantine.
Oh, okay,
yeah. I really like it.
Well, you're a huge Keanu fan, right?
Yeah, I'll also watch him do anything. But it was like cinematography was like really like shot really beautifully. It had like a real cool like Exorcist vibe to it. The supernatural stuff that they did was really cool, but fans of the Hellblazer comic didn't like it because it was just Keanu being Keanu. And then I guess just for like general audience, it was too weird.
Right.
So just didn't really find any like audience in the theater. But it went on to all the Star Wars prequels.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't like them. I don't think they're good.
Yeah. But you have to watch when
like you have to watch them. They're part of the world.
You have to accept them.
Like no matter how bad they are, you have to accept that Jar Jar is a part of that universe. They all have cool parts, you know.
Right, but as movies,
just as movies are so boring.
Yeah.
I went to the 3D re-release of episode 1. On a date because she was actually like legit, like, oh yeah, like let's go watch it in 3D. How cool would that be? And I was like, okay. And then it's like, oh, they're talking about tax tariffs in 3D. This is real fun. So.
Why did they re-release the first one?
Well, they were gonna do 1, 2, 3 all in 3D re-release, but then they got bought by Disney, so they're like, we don't need to do that anymore. We can just spend our money on making new ones. Yeah. But they totally hooked me.
Those were all good. Sam, nothing.
The Star Wars prequels, the first one came out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I went to the theater and I enjoyed it.
So
that's who it was marketed to.
Yeah. It totally works for kids.
Right, but now it's just like
now I haven't watched them since like 1999.
Still.
I still haven't seen the first two. Like I ended up seeing the third one because Yahoo basically gave us free tickets and we laughed the whole movie. And
you never saw 1 or 2?
Nope. Didn't bother.
One's pretty slow and boring. 2 was just like real CG heavy. And just it was like to that point where it was just people, like humans walking on green screen,
right,
at a time when it wasn't so like the CG wasn't so good that you could just like clearly tell this is all fake.
Right. 3 I could kind of get into because I could see where it was leading up to obviously A New Hope. So
3 was cool because it was like, all right, you've been waiting for these 2 awful movies, and you're finally going to see him turn into Darth Vader.
Right.
And then it was just
plot, but the acting was atrocious.
Yes. No.
Good old Hayden. He tried.
He's living off that money for the rest of his life.
We're back with Frank, and Frank's always great in the podcast, so thank you for joining me again.
My pleasure being here, Brian.
All right, so this time we're doing guilty pleasure movies. So these could be movies that were box office bombs, critically panned, or simply people make fun of you for liking these movies. So I'm dying to know.
There's a couple that come to mind, and they're also feel-good movies for me, so that's probably another topic for another cast.
Sure.
But 2. One is a Peter O'Toole movie called My Favorite Year.
Oh, yeah.
And probably early 80s.
Yes. Yeah.
And it has the... it's a great situation. It's a show of a movie about 1950, NBC doing a live... kind of Saturday Night Live of the 50s. It was the Sid Caesar show parody of Show of Shows, which is some of the funniest stuff you ever see on TV.
Absolutely.
Sid Caesar is brilliant. So it's a parody of that, and Peter O'Toole plays a swashbuckler who comes in drunk and hammered and doesn't understand it's live TV and ends up being the greatest show ever.
Yeah.
And it's narrated by the guy who played on Bulky, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
He has a hyphen name.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So he plays the main character, and so it's a great movie.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I haven't seen it in years, but I'm going to go back and watch it.
Then the other one is one of Norman Jewison's greatest movies, in my opinion, is Moonstruck.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Italian.
Snap out of it.
Snap out of it. Right. Cher, Nicolas Cage when he was still normal.
Yeah. You know, Cher, and when Cher was normal too.
Right, when Cher was normal too.
And her face
Vincent
was,
Gardenia is a great character actor, plays her dad.
Cher is a very underrated actress. You know, she was Moonstruck. I think she might have won an Academy Award for it. Did you ever see Mask?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mask.
Another brilliant movie. So.
Yeah, she did win an Academy Award for Moonstruck.
Yeah.
She was brilliant in it.
Which is of Eastwick.
Yeah. And and then the movie about the nuclear plant.
Yes. Oh God, what was it? I can't. It's not
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
All I can think is Chernobyl, but
I can't think. She was also in. It was a kind of a feel-good comedy, Mermaids.
That was Bette Midler.
Yeah.
Moonstruck is a great story on different levels. You got the dad having an affair, you got the daughter having an affair, and they got the whole New York Italianism in there. And one of the best scenes is the father from Frasier plays in there. And there's I love movies that have restaurant scenes. I like to just put a collage of all my favorite restaurant scenes in movies together. And
Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally would definitely be one of those. He talks about a moonlight in the martini. He tells a story about being a professor at NYU, and he teaches the same stuff for the last 30 years, but every now and then he looks up in the audience and sees this pair of fresh, bright eyes thinking that I'm brilliant, and he has an affair with these students. They don't last long, but he tells the whole story over dinner. Olympia Dukakis is Cher's mother in that as well.
She's great and everything.
So it's a great feel-good movie.
I like that too. Let me guess what your favorite song is. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant by Billy Joel. Not only are you Italian, you love restaurants. You love restaurants.
I don't even know if I've heard that.
Oh, you got to listen to it. It's basically a story in and of itself. It's like it's almost like a 2-part song. So if you like Billy Joel,
I do.
You got to check out Scenes from an Italian Restaurant.
Ah, okay, I will. What album is that from?
It's on all of his greatest hits, so I'm
Okay.
sure you can find it. And it's on Spotify and YouTube.
Oh, I'll check it out.
See, we delve in different things.
See, I thought you were going to go to Dean Martin, When the Moon Hits the Sky Like a Big Pizza Pie. That's part of Moonstruck.
That is Amore, right? Yeah.
That is Amore.
Well, thank you, Frank.
Brian, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Snap out of it!
Okay, so we have Gwen on the show, and Gwen, I always appreciate because she's super prepared.
So one of the films I think is my guilty pleasure, which might be a surprise for some people, is the Harold and Kumar.
Oh yeah, they go to White Castle.
They go to White Castle and they escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Right, and don't they have a Christmas movie too? Or
I
am I
think
thinking
so.
something?
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stopped after Guantanamo, which is
Yeah. But I mean, they're silly, but they're funny.
It's a modern
great.
Cheech and Chong kind of.
Yeah, it is. That's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Modern Cheech and Chong. Oh, we should put that on.
There is we could do stoner genre movies, Cheech and Chong and Half Baked and all those
That's
movies.
a good one.
Yeah.
Stoner movies.
Yeah.
Okay, and then another one is The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh yeah,
Have you seen that?
Absolutely. Lindley used to call me. I was Anne Hathaway because we
Really?
make a joke that I would have to go get her laundry and do her
Really?
errands for her. Yeah.
You went to go do her laundry?
No, it was an ongoing joke, but I would gladly do that for her because that's what I was doing.
Yeah, that was a great film, and you know who it's based on.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Who is it based on?
It's based on the woman who is the editor of Vogue magazine,
I did hear
Anne
that.
Winthrop.
Yes.
And actually, there's a documentary about her, which was really interesting because the character that Meryl Streep plays is just like her.
Really?
She's very, in a
Demanding.
nice way, demanding, very detail-oriented, has to have everything her way, but it focuses on one of the biggest issues of the magazine, which is the September issue. Yes, and it goes through like her, it really shows her personality, or in some ways lack of personality.
But she's successful, and that obviously is what works for her.
Yeah, but my ultimate one, I would have to say, and drum roll,
Okay.
is Princess Bride.
That's a great one. You would feel guilty about The Princess Bride.
Well, I'm not sure how people, perceive it today, because, back then the movie came out in the late 80s.
Yeah, I think it was 87 or something like that.
Yeah, so it was a little bit different. It's different when you see it on the big screen versus if you see it on the video or, some other cable channel. Because, it doesn't give that same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And when I saw it actually, I was living in LA during that time, and I was going to school down there. And so what we would have is these premieres. And so one of the premieres was Princess Bride. And so it was really exciting because at the very end of the film, guess who showed up?
Okay. Peter Falk.
No.
Okay. Fred Savage. I'm guessing everyone, but I don't know. You're going to have to tell me.
Meatloaf.
Oh, no way. Why? Why did
Rob Reiner.
Oh, you mean Meathead.
Meathead.
Yeah, Meatloaf. I'm like, really? The singer showed up? That was so random.
Same thing. So Rob
Meathead,
Reiner showed up in the film, after the film, and he said it was just really great to see the audience reaction.
Sure.
Especially in the last scene when, the man who was searching for the five-fingered man, his name was Indigo Montoya. When he says those famous lines, my name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And his nemesis...
That's Mandy,
Yep. And his nemesis, of course, he ends up running the other direction, which was completely unexpected.
Sure, that's what made it hilarious.
And so Rob Reiner said that was like the best thing for him to see the audience reaction to that.
And that's the thing, as a director, I'm sure you think this is funny. You're writing and you know it's funny, but there's times when the audience, it just doesn't translate.
Exactly. And apparently there's been many times when The Princess Bride was going to be adapted to a film, but it just didn't pan out.
Right.
And so there was interest by, for example, Christopher Reeve to play Wesley.
Oh, really?
Yep. And Danny DeVito was slated to play, do you remember the character Vizzini? He was a little short guy. Yeah, so they were thinking of Danny DeVito to play that character. And when the actor for Vizzini, his name is Wallace Shawn, when he found out that, they were considering Danny DeVito, he was completely stressed the whole time to perform really well. And it's interesting because his background is that he went to Harvard and studied history, also studied at Oxford. So he's really intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it really shines, in the film because he is that kind of person.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and there's so many great quotes in there that, I completely remember. Exactly, as you wish. And what was great was when I saw it, a friend of mine, she was sitting right in front of me. And I absolutely, to this day, remember her reactions to certain scenes.
Really?
I mean, I just loved it, even more than the movie, just watching her. And there was a scene in the film when the princess... Buttercup.
Yes, Princess Buttercup.
She was about to marry the king. And there was a scene where they had the bishop. And the bishop looked like this really regal man, very sophisticated. And then he opens his mouth and says, marriage. A dweeb within a dweeb. And my friend, died laughing. She almost fell off her chair. And it's interesting because she's a very religious person.
Really?
And to see that scene where you have this bishop have this speech impediment. And it's just like hilarious.
That's what makes good comedy. Comedy is it's what surprises you. That's what makes the laugh out loud. You're not expecting it. Exactly. That's why you kind of let loose, and that wasn't expected.
Exactly.
And she'll never have probably the same reaction again. She'll find it funny, but not like the first time.
Not like exactly.
It's kind of like, did you ever see Little Miss Sunshine?
Yeah.
We saw it in the movie theater, and we weren't expecting the end scene. I won't give anything away, but the ending scene at the pageant is classic. And people were rolling in the aisles because it was so unexpected, because you're expecting her to do a certain dance, and it was completely different than what you did.
Exactly.
And as funny as it still is, but in the movie theater, it was unbelievable because you weren't expecting it. And I just couldn't stop laughing. Yeah.
And then you start also laughing because, other people are contagious.
That's right.
Especially
it's infectious. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah, infectious.
Infectious. That's what I'm here for. That's right.
But there's another scene I think which is great, is with Andre the Giant.
Oh, of course. Yeah, how could you forget that?
Yeah, and Andre the Giant, it's really interesting because I just watched a documentary about him, and he died really young.
He did.
It was he was about 46.
Well, yeah, but he was so big. How can your body hold all that?
Yeah, he had, some kind of disease or disorder.
Yeah. Because he was almost 7 feet tall and weighed, 500-600 pounds. So.
7'4" or so.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I didn't know this, but he was born in France.
Oh, yeah, I did know that.
So he was from France.
I followed the WWF very heavily in the 80s, so yes, Andre the Giant was a big...
And you watched him?
Oh, absolutely. The famous WrestleMania 3 where Hulk Hogan fought.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And he body slammed him, which had never been done. Now we're going off on a tangent. We're reliving my childhood. But yeah, that was part of the reason I really enjoyed The Princess Bride as a kid, because he was in it. So.
Yeah, and it was interesting because when Rob Reiner had him audition for the part, he could not understand a word that Andre the Giant said. So he had to have these recordings and make Andre the Giant listen to them. And repeat. Yeah, that was the only way that he was able to learn his lines. So, but the one scene which I think was great is when the character of Andre the Giant and Inigo Montoya have this rhyme scene, and I thought maybe we can
Are you gonna make me play along?
Yeah, okay. You can play along. So I could be Inigo, and you could be Physique.
Okay, go ahead. You can begin, Gwen.
That Vizzini, he can fuss.
Fuss. I think he liked to scream at us.
Probably he means no harm.
He's really very short on charm.
You have a great gift for rhyme.
Yes, some of the time.
Enough of that. Physique, are there rocks ahead?
If there are, we will all be dead.
No more rhymes now. I mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
Yeah, that's classic scene.
I don't think we're going to be great actors. I don't know. Our audition tape is going to be deleted.
Vicini, he can fuss.
Fuss. Think you like to scream at us?
Probably he means no harm.
He's very, very short on charm.
You have a great gift for rhyme.
Yes. Some of the time.
Enough of that!
Fuzzy, are there rocks ahead?
If they are, we all be dead.
No more rhymes now, I mean it!
Anybody want a peanut?
Okay, this is a first for the Damn Good Memories, Movie Memories podcast. My co-hosts have been drinking excessively. No, just kidding. They would never do that. So anyway, we're going to talk about guilty pleasure movies. I think it's a perfect time to get our guilty pleasures out here for movies. That's it. I will cut out anything that is inappropriate, so you've been warned. Anyway, so we'll start with Stephanie.
So yes, I'm really embarrassed. I think up until this point, when I've talked, I've been kind of cool. This is seriously, I think, the realm of the uncool. I don't care.
But that's the point of this episode.
Yeah. So my guiltiest pleasure is Grease 2.
Okay.
It is without a doubt. I mean, it's not a guilty pleasure. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Stephanie Zanoni was the girl I wanted to be. This is before Michelle Pfeiffer is anything.
Well
I think is this her debut? No, it's not her debut, but it's got to be like up there.
It's before Scarface.
These songs are absurd. Like, there's this song, reproduction, make my stamen go berserk. I mean, these are the songs. Like, there's we're gonna score tonight while they're at a bowling alley. It is a spectacular movie. I love every inch of it. I think the Maxwell Caulfield, Michelle Pfeiffer relationship, there was just something about it. And from then on, I was ruined. If ever there was a guy on a motorcycle, that he was a cool rider, right? I want a cool rider. I wanted a cool rider. And it's funny. I think the lyricist ran out of energy because at the very end she just starts spelling it. I want to COOLRIDER because he can't come up with anything else to say about a guy on a bike.
Well, when in doubt, you just keep going back into the chorus another 10 times.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Okay, so part of the reason you love this movie also because you just rented it all the time, so it's that era where it's like nonstop. So.
Well, the other thing too is, so I grew up in North Hollywood, and there was a United Artists movie theater. It was like the only movie theater in town.
Yeah.
And for $2, I think $2.50, something like this, that was my allowance. I think at the time was like $5.
Okay.
So for $5, I could go to the movies.
You got a $5 per week allowance?
Yeah, no. This is when my parents had money. When we were little, there was like no money. But yeah, I got this like $5 allowance, and I think I don't know how old I was, but I had to be older because I was at the movies by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to be at least 10. But yeah,
so
it
how
was
far away was
incredible.
the movie theater from your house? Were you riding your bike? Or?
No. My parents would drop me off, and they were so happy to drop us off. I had young parents. I had a Vietnam vet and a really young mom, and all they wanted was time alone.
Sure.
So if we wanted to go to the movies,
go for it.
Go. Yeah. And so, I would watch it every single week. And that was when movies stayed in movie theaters.
For like a year or something.
They were just there until somebody made something else. I think Top Gun was at our movie theater for like 6 months because, people would just see it. You would pay to see movies over and over and over again.
Well, it's amazing now because movies are literally, even good movies, max 2 months. And that's Star Wars. Like any other movie, 3 weeks. It's out, and then it's streaming a month later.
Yeah, but I worry about this generation because they can't truly ever love anything.
No, everything's gone. Like
you can't see because you see a film once and you're like meh, but then you're forced to see it again. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you're forced to see it again, and you like. So there are movies that I love, which if I had grown up now, maybe I wouldn't love them.
No way, because you would have watched Electric Boogaloo once, and that would have been it.
Because that's the only opportunity I would have had. And would I really have gone on demand to watch?
Never.
Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo?
There are
Probably
too
not.
many options.
Yeah.
It's overkill. It really is. So that's a great one. Okay, Winway. So can you top that?
Well, I would just add to that. Grease 2 was also very we were about the same age, so I just remember it being on, I think it was HBO or something, and just watching it like the entire summer. It was on like every day and watching it over and over and over again.
So guilty
that's all I'm
pleasure.
saying. That's not my guilty pleasure.
Yeah,
I don't know that I feel guilty about my pleasures. Oh, that sounds disturbing. Sorry.
Okay, edit.
Edit that out.
Delete.
That sounded really.
No, you gotta keep it in. It's real. It's live.
I am the purest person you can imagine, or the most prudish person you could possibly imagine. So that's not what I meant at all.
Okay.
Guilty pleasures, Wayne's World,
that's
Austin Powers.
Yeah, so
I can't not watch that movie, and it is so ridiculous. And I actually, my son was homesick. It was probably a few years ago. I want to guess he was like 10 or 11. Also, my 10-year-old daughter has watched this when she was younger, was Austin Powers. Mm-hmm. But I forgot all the references to the penis.
Yeah, and the woman's name is...
penis enlargement thing. Yeah. It's like he had the penis pump.
It was a penis pump, yes.
Penis pump. But it was just like, he's like, quickly. He's like, sir, you forgot this. He's like, this is your copy of your book. How the penis pump works, and I can never repeat it. But it was just like... Oh my god, I totally friggin' forgot.
And all the names, like her name's like a lot of vagina or a lot of vagina.
I think, it was all really ridiculous that I was like, how did I let my child watch this? But I'm fine.
But then again, look, I think...
It's so funny.
I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to judge, but everything's so overprotected. I got to watch Porky's when I was a kid, and Animal House, and
I
now...
did not get to watch Porky's.
Yeah. Well, I went to a friend's house.
I would say I've always valued... quality over age appropriateness with my children.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I've never let them watch a Disney show. I'm even like, if you go to your friends and they have that fucking Disney Channel on, no! That is so brain damagingly stupid. stupid. Like, I don't even know what the Disney shows are. I mean, I'm thinking Hannah Montana, but that's even before my kids' age. But, like, whatever the stupid Disney shows, they are so mentally debilitating that I'm like, you can watch, something that is inappropriate, that is quality. Not that Austin Powers is high quality, but you know what I mean.
I'm sorry, I got a non sequitur, but I just thought of my second greatest guilty pleasure. And I'm sorry, but I think in some ways it's even bigger than Grease 2, and that's The Bodyguard. I fucking love The Bodyguard. Oh my God. When Kevin Costner carries Whitney Houston out of that disco and her pearls are on the... Oh, I was just done for. I memorized that soundtrack from beginning to end. I love The Bodyguard. And Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, they hated it. Roger Ebert, he panned it, and I loved Roger Ebert. Whatever he said to watch, I showed up and I watched it. I was just like, boy, you got that wrong. Wrong with a capital W.
So did you like...
That was a big deal, Roger.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. Show, right? They would always find, I love
Well, him, Leonard Maltin being on Entertainment Tonight, those were all big deals. I mean, did you enjoy the Dolly Parton song before the Whitney Houston?
No, I didn't even know it existed until Whitney sang it.
That's a Dolly Parton song.
Yeah, no, and I think there was some chemistry between Whitney and Kevin that was extraordinary, and I love that movie. Yeah, Spring Flower.
That's a great one. That would have been a good soundtrack one.
I love that movie.
That is a terrible soundtrack.
I love Twilight too. Don't get me started. Sorry.
Okay.
Is Twilight a guilty pleasure?
No, so for me,
pleasure.
Twilight is serious business. I think for the rest of the world, Twilight's a guilty pleasure.
Okay, let's open up the can of worms. 50 Shades of Grey, is that a guilty pleasure or just...
50 Shades of Grey is amazing. I loved 50 Shades of Grey. And I think for those of us
the movie? I know you like the books.
I love the book, and I love the movie.
Of course.
Yeah, no, I love the movie.
Okay, do you know my problem is sex scenes. I hate them. They don't progress the story. Like, we all know what's going to happen. Who cares? I don't.
But have you watched 50 Shades of Grey?
Never.
Oh,
never watch it.
Well, watch it and then tell me, because
never.
Well, those sex scenes are something else.
No, because it doesn't progress the story. Who cares?
I'm embarrassed. I'm leaving.
No. The thing about sex scenes in like a movie like 50 Shades of Grey, I think the reason why they're compelling is because no average human being, certainly not myself, is going to, do half the shit you're watching on screen.
To edit this out.
I think this is fascinating. It's captivating.
This will be the bonus footage for the people that end up paying for this final. Do you want the raunchy version? The extended cut?
Director's cut? The non-rated version.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely appropriate.
Okay, so you've opened up a can of worms. So there's so when you're in the theater watching a sex scene, that's totally uncomfortable compared to being at home.
I don't know if I'm uncomfortable. I'm just like...
Okay,
come
move
on,
with
this
the plot.
does not... I don't care about these two people kissing. Like, if you have like, they kiss. Okay, got it. They're
Top
gonna
Gun,
do it.
Totally stupid.
They're gonna do it.
It doesn't move on
no sex scene in any situation I will fast forward through them because I'm like, this does not progress the story. I don't care. I get it. You're gonna do it. I get it. I don't need to watch it.
Oh my God.
Don't care.
I am your polar opposite. Because
it is so boring to me.
No, so I think that's a podcast for you for the future.
we can just do
the greatest romantic moments, like the way Rhett Butler kisses Scarlett.
Sure.
The way, and I know.
So yes, a romantic moment, the first kiss, but then done. Don't need to see any more.
Yeah, but what are the great sex scenes in the history of American cinema?
Last Tango in Paris with
9.5 weeks. With that gross spit action where the spit kind of wasn't it that? No, that was in Top Gun where Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise did the spit.
I was 8 years old and I saw that with my parents in the
theater.
theater.
And I was like, ew, why do they have to do the spit thing?
I still don't regret not going to see whatever that movie was you guys wanted to see, the Amy Schumer film.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh, that's a good movie. But you know what? The problem with the Amy Schumer film is, I think for all of us that had rough college years, that's a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think she's portraying something that was too... That was too, like, whoa.
But the John Cena scenes are absolutely hilarious.
No, I think, like, really, romance, the way it's portrayed, the way a man kisses a woman, or a woman kisses a woman, or a man kisses a man, like, however you approach that, there's a romance in that. And I think one of the things that the Twilight film, as opposed to the book, did was it was really silly, and it was the director, Catherine Hardwicke. She was really great at understanding the teenage mind.
Yeah.
And she directed, what's his name? I can't remember. Robert Pattinson.
Oh my God.
Well, you know I've had too much to drink if I can't remember Robert Pattinson's name. But
What do you have a nickname for him?
Yeah.
Bobcat? What's his nickname?
Oh, no. So back in the day, we shipped Rob Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, and they were Robston.
No, it was R-Pats.
R-Pats. Oh, yeah, R-Pats.
I refer to this all the time.
But yeah, so anyways, like when she directed that in that scene for Edward to grab Bella's face just so, and anybody that's seen the movie knows what I'm talking about, you know, and he cups her face, he holds her cheek and grabs her head, and I got to tell you, every teenage girl in America just went,
sure.
Acha. And if you watch, a year after Twilight came out, because that's when the movies would come out, that scene has influenced the way every man kisses a girl from here on out. And I know some people will go, whoa, the Notebook. The Notebook did it first. When Ryan Gosling held both cheeks and did that thing where he goes in. Yeah. But there's just something very romantic about that. About just like the subtle way in which you can kiss or in which you can make love and like the way the back can move. No. Long live sex scene in cinema.
Linley's under the table. Yeah.
I think that it inspires all of us to try to get back in the bedroom and make it work.
Okay, so I don't know if you ever heard this story. So Fast Times at Ridgemont High, when they were allowing rentals to go, video store owners noticed that the famous Phoebe Cates scene where
was cut.
No, it would be that scene would degenerate, like the film quality would degenerate because everyone was rewinding it back and forth just for that one scene. Yeah.
But see, that's the guys.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the part. Those are the parts that the guys find extraordinary,
Sure.
and that's a whole other podcast.
No, I know.
My first boyfriend's father, before the whole the celebrity naked internet scenes. This was back in the day,
before
right?
Mr. Skin.
Yeah, before Mr. Skin.
Yeah.
He put together VHSs of naked celebrities. My first boyfriend's father. Would put together, he had all these, and would brag about it. Yes, this is where I put together all of the boob shots I've ever seen. It's he just spliced them together and had these collection. And it was
what we had to do before the internet, I know, it was very difficult.
Why are you telling me I was 18? Come on.
Oh, it's poetry, man.
He was the original Mr. Skin.
Yeah, he was just like that. And it was so funny when they had that on. That's a guilty pleasure. Knocked Up. When they talked about Knocked Up, they were trying to do that, and everybody's like, "It's like Mr. Skin." And I was like, "Oh my god, my boyfriend's father used to do this shit."
Yeah, but you see, there's guilty pleasures and there's guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
Knocked Up is highbrow guilty pleasure. Twilight is lowbrow guilty pleasure.
Okay, but Austin Powers, lowbrow.
That's lowbrow.
No, I think even Austin Powers. I think compared to me,
jokes, a lot of penis jokes.
And
should have us on
jokes.
more
He's in the
bathroom
bathroom with Tom Arnold.
You're more a highbrow guilty pleasure, and I'm lowbrow guilty pleasure. I wonder. I don't know. Maybe we should do more exploration of this.
I don't know. I want to hear about your the back is arched in a circle. I can't take it. No.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
That is me fast forwarding.
Somebody in the comments tell me that I'm telling the truth, please. I need another woman in America to say thumbs up to me.
I'm sure you are more the norm. I am abnormal. I get that, but I'm honestly completely bored by makeout scenes or sex scenes. I get what's happening.
I'll give you guys a copy of this. I don't think any of this is going in.
Yeah,
so
please
no,
don't
I'm joking. Oh my god,
that's too funny.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Oh God! Oh yes! I'll have what she's having.
So we have the dynamic duo back. It's always our Thursday club. It's Josephine and Mahlon. So thank you guys for joining again. You are the mainstays. So this is great. So we're going to go through guilty pleasures, and Josephine and I were talking about this before, that certain guilty pleasures they don't even have to be guilty pleasures. Movies are movies. Enjoy them for what they are. So Josephine, tell me how you feel about guilty pleasures, what we talked about, and then you can go into your
Yeah,
list.
I think I was just telling Brian, not every movie has to be a Wes Anderson, a Saving Private Ryan masterpiece. And for what I look for in movies that I enjoy, is for what they were trying to achieve, did they hit that mark? So that's kind of the hallmark of did I enjoy that movie?
Right.
Did I like it? So it doesn't matter what it's trying to be. Having said that, I notice all my guilty pleasures fit into one genre, which
really?
maybe it's a little bit hard to find a really good one. And I think I've read an article on Vulture that said, "Is the romantic comedy dead, or why aren't they that great anymore?"
I'm glad you didn't call it rom-com, because the millennials have been calling it rom-com for the last few interviews.
Have they?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
David.
I think the gold standard for me for romantic comedies is When Harry Met Sally.
Sure.
Yeah, and I feel like it wasn't trying to be anything. It was just, this is what we're going to try to explore: female and male dynamics. Can they be friends? And I remember there was another article on Vulture as well. I think it was sparked by, a Mindy Kaling tweet about Sleepless in Seattle versus You've Got Mail. And this like war happened on Twitter about which is like the superior romantic comedy. For my money, it's Sleepless in Seattle, because I think by You've Got Mail, it was almost a little self-conscious. Like, it was like Meg Ryan was doing her cutesy thing, and it was very...
Well, it's also a remake, and so it's hard to be... Sleep in Seattle was actually original. I mean, it was the novel first, but you can only go so far with You've Got Mail if you're staying true to the original.
Yeah, and there's a lot I like about You've Got Mail, but I just like Sleepless in Seattle. It just felt a little bit more authentic.
Sure.
It wasn't trying to be anything.
And You've Got Mail is immediately dated now because of AOL. So, so a certain time period will remember it, but now, I mean, I think Almost Shop Around the Corner holds up better in some ways, just because it's kind of that cute, writing each other notes instead of,
Shop Around the Corner?
Yeah.
That's a new movie?
No. That's
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
It's
the original You've Got Mail.
Okay.
So that's why Meg Ryan's bookstore, I think, is called Shop Around the Corner. So it's like a nod to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? You're learning something from damn good movie memories.
No, every day. And actually, I started listening to some of the older episodes and hearing what everybody else is saying. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, see? That's why I'm here. Yeah. Okay, so,
Okay, so on that note... Oh, sorry, I banged the table.
You can do what you want.
So French Kiss, probably my number one guilty pleasure, just because it's so charming. It's ridiculous, and
another Meg Ryan movie, right?
Another Meg Ryan movie. I think she really is incredibly charming in that. I love what she's wearing, and also, but I mean, what's ridiculous about it is just all those like French cliches. It's so ridiculous. And even when I saw it, I was like, "This is ridiculous," but it's so charming. It's so funny. It has a lot of those like romantic comedy like hallmarks where she's defeated and then she meets this like weirdo guy and they spar, and then I thought it was really cute. So same thing, music and lyrics. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
Drew Barrymore
and Hugh Grant. I really like.
Of course,
them.
you've seen.
I've seen all. I love romantic comedies. They are what they are. So,
I really like that too, and I mean, speaking of great soundtracks, have you used the soundtrack?
Oh, yeah.
It's a really great, poppy, catchy soundtrack that's kind of reminiscent of like those 80s pop.
Yeah.
80s pop.
Well, I believe he's a songwriter, right? Or he was a musician at one point. He was popular at one point.
Yeah, and then she's this. She wanted to be a writer, and now it turns out she's like a really great lyricist. Yeah, and I just love these two people that are kind of like beaten down. They have failure, disappointment, and then they kind of like, let's just try one more time. I just love that part.
Drew Barrymore's in a lot of good romantic. Did you ever see Never Been Kissed?
Yes.
The whole Josie Grossi, and then it's really fun. I love it.
She's great at that.
She is.
And
even The Wedding Singer.
Wedding Singer, 50 First Dates. She's just really charming.
She is.
She's really great. Yeah. So another one is The Holiday.
I think we talked about it. I saw this in the theater. Yeah.
And I think the one reason I like it is just because it gets a little meta, because it is about movies, and because one of the characters, she makes movie trailers.
Yeah.
And then one of her colleagues does movie scores. So
Jack Black, right?
Jack Black, yeah. And I love Kate Winslet. She can do no wrong for me. I mean, she can do anything, right? She can do these romantic comedies. She can do The Readers. Another one is...
she came prepared. I love this. Yeah.
Hitch. Did you guys ever see Hitch?
Oh, with Will Smith?
Yeah. Have you ever seen it?
These are all going over my head. You're talking about Drew Barrymore in romantic comedies. I'm like, she was great in Scream.
Whoa. E.T. I love her in E.T.
Oh, yeah.
Firestarter.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
no, I've seen the other side of Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
And that you're introducing me to another complete different side.
Come to
of
the
her.
side.
Yeah, I know.
Come to the light side, right?
But no, Hitch is also one that's kind of ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not sure I agree so much with the premise of, women want it this way just
Sure.
because everyone is different. But I love how it's just so absurd that, I don't know if you saw this once, that one scene where Will Smith is coaching, was it Kevin James?
Kevin James, yes.
Kevin James behind the door. There is so obviously someone on the other side
Sure.
of the door, but it just they play it off as, it's fine.
Reminds me of, what was it, What Women Want with Mel Gibson?
I've never seen
and
that.
I think Renee Russo?
Or was it Helen Hunt?
Helen Hunt, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that good?
It is. It's fine. I mean, I remember enjoying it. Like, I never leave romantic comedy. There was one subject. I think you suggested like romantic comedies that aren't cheesy or chick flicks that aren't
without
cheesy.
the schmaltz.
Yeah, and I get why they follow the same format. I mean, that's what people want. You're not going there to get. You know what you're gonna get. You know you're gonna feel okay when you leave.
Mm-hmm.
It works. So, yeah, these are all great.
Okay. Say more.
Don't feel guilty at all.
So the other one, last one is she's like a romantic comedy mainstay. Well, not anymore, but she was. Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
Harry Connick junior Yeah. But Jenna Rollins is in it. I think Forrest Whitaker directed it.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but I just love how it's just kind of unabashedly sincere and I love that devotion to just being like all like schmaltzy and cheesy and soft and smushy.
Yeah.
Soft and gooey. Gooey chewy.
We're getting food metaphors close to Thanksgiving, so this is good. So these are great. Mahlon, okay, so top all this.
Oh gosh, I don't know. So I have a couple of questions for you first.
Okay.
Because I kind of tried to brainstorm in advance to be prepared. So my first question is, are there age restrictions on your audience?
Not.
So I can be frank and kind of confessional here?
Of course.
Because
I can put explicit when I upload this to iTunes, so yeah.
And the other thing is, are you going to be doing cult films later?
So
I don't know which stories I want to reserve for cult films.
Okay.
I think.
Well, I'll space them out, and maybe we'll do it in a few months, so it'd be safe.
So the first thing I wanted to do is have a little bit of maybe a debate about the term guilty pleasures.
Sure.
So are they guilty pleasures or are they misunderstood masterpieces? Because that's what I understand is
that can go either way, and that also goes into cult films too, because
that's true.
Sometimes they're just they were released at the wrong time, they didn't have the funding or whatever reason, and then you look back years later and they're actually amazing films.
Or they were just made for a very, very small audience.
Sure.
And it's just, maybe there are only 20 people out there that are going to appreciate it on the level, on whatever level.
Yeah.
Maybe the level that the filmmaker wanted, or maybe their
It's
own
like this podcast.
Great level.
It's a cult podcast.
Yeah, we'll find out who the audience is.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I take guilty pleasure to mean like it's not a good movie, but you really enjoy it for whatever reason.
Sure. That's why I proposed the term misunderstood masterpieces as a way to take it back. Take back
I'm writing
the
it
guilty
down.
pleasure.
This will be in the show notes.
Didn't Louis Malle say? Was it Louis Malle? He said like it takes just as much effort to make a bad movie as it does a good one.
Absolutely, he's right.
I don't know if that was what he said. But that's a great quote. I don't know
Was
if
it?
that was
Yeah.
So anyway, I noticed that a lot of my guilty pleasures are probably crossovers with cult films.
Okay.
The way that I was, so the way I was introduced to a lot of these is not by choice, but I encountered guilty pleasures sometimes in moments when I wasn't ready for them. So going back, when I was growing up in the middle of nowhere in California, and this is where it's going to get confessional, I've noticed that a few of my upcoming stories are probably going to be about things I shouldn't have done, but I did anyway. So during high school was really horrible and boring for both my sister and I. So in Fresno, there was an art house movie series, like that's what they called it, art movie series. They didn't know, they could have called it whatever. So I hope there's nobody out there listening to this who knows me. But so my sister and I would
post on your Facebook wall.
We would ditch school. We had a system. This is going to come up later when I talk about cult films for Rocky Horror Picture Show. But we had a system for ditching school, and once a week they would change the films, and we would make sure to see every single one of those films. And every once in a while, oh my goodness, I saw a film I wasn't ready for. Like David Cronenberg's Naked Lunch. Whoa. That is, so it's a film that's inspired very, very loosely. Thank goodness it's inspired loosely off of Bill Burroughs' beat kind of masterpiece of debauchery that I think must have been banned like everywhere. But anyway, didn't know anything about the beats, didn't know anything about William Burroughs, but I did know that the film was coming because they would see trailers for future installments in this series. If you ever have a chance, look at the trailer for Naked Lunch. It's great. It doesn't tell you anything about the movie, thank goodness, because it didn't prepare me or anyone else. But it's got Bill Burroughs doing kind of this narration about what's going to happen, just his relationship with Hollywood in the film. And it's kind of hypnotic. And I was really looking forward to this movie. And then we went in, my sister and I, on this ditch day from school. We go in, it's daylight outside. You go into this film that's just so kind of out of this world and dark, and there was nothing that prepared me for that. And I think I liked the shock much later. Like going into it, it was just one of those films that I had a seismic reaction to, and not necessarily in a good way, but it did shake me up.
So what's the premise of the film without giving anything away?
So the premise of the film, not the book, because it's hard to say that there is a unified premise to the book. The premise of the movie is that a bug killer who is he's hooked as though it were a heroin addiction to the poison that he's using to kill bugs, has to flee the country and goes off into this kind of sci-fi post-apocalyptic weird kind of poetic landscape where there are giant insects and there are these things called terrifying creatures called mugwumps who have penile appendages on their heads and they ejaculate, and I think that creates so it's this weird psycho. I was in high school. I was probably 16. I shouldn't have been there. I had no business being in this movie. But that goes with a lot of those films, like My Own Private Idaho. What else? Things like that. Kind of that era. Unfortunately, not The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. Same kind of era, but I didn't get to see it as part of that series. But yeah, so a lot of my guilty pleasures I discovered with my sister while ditching school in high school, especially in our senior year.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole list of these. Okay, so my other set of guilty pleasures came from a similar kind of movie series experience, and that's Peaches Christ's Midnight Mass in the city. So when I moved with my partner up to the Bay Area after grad school, I thought, back in the day, we used to go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show in Berkeley. And that's not happening anymore. And I thought, it's the Bay Area. There has got to be a midnight movie series or something that's like filled that space, because there was like a need for the Rocky Horror Picture Show when it was there. So what's filled that need? And so I looked around for a little while, and then I finally found Peaches Christ's Midnight Mass, which is great because you have this drag queen who is named after Jesus Christ. The whole backstory is that she's a direct descendant of Jesus Christ, and she's doing this midnight movie series where you go and you worship like these B-grade movies for midnight mass. It's awesome. The whole theming of it was so subversive and so twisted and so lovely and delectable. I just loved it. Immediately fell in love with it. And so I found a bunch of movies that I fell in love with there that I hadn't managed to see before. Like Straight Jacket with the woman from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Joan Crawford.
Oh.
Joan Crawford as a very likely, potentially axe-wielding murderess.
This is definitely later in her career.
Yeah, I think so. But that was fantastic. It's definitely not Mildred Pierce. But
that was her finest hour.
But that was fantastic. That whole experience of going into the city, which I normally don't really like to do, but going in after everybody's off doing their nightlife stuff or whatever, and then creeping into this movie theater with a bunch of crazy people who are just as addicted to the B side of films. That's it. Yeah. So for the listeners, Brian's showing us a picture of the poster. You should all look at it. It's great.
Yes, it's basically Joan Crawford in a dress with this huge axe in her hand.
Yeah, and it's not, though you might think it at first, it's not an excerpt from Mommy Dearest, but it looks like it could be. Yeah.
Oh man!
So
that's another guilty pleasure movie for a lot of people. Is Mommy Dearest?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is great because she did Mommy Dearest, which I had seen before on TV, but it's not the same seeing Mommy Dearest on TV as seeing it in a midnight movie series that is worshiping the heck out of Faye Dunaway's brilliant role. See, it found its audience, right?
Totally.
Because that's the only way I can say some of these things, is just going in there and worshiping this kind of priceless performance of her just going all out with absolutely no abandon whatsoever. So even if you don't appreciate the movie, or Joan Crawford, or Faye Dunaway's over-the-topness of it, you gotta appreciate that she just went for it.
Total
like,
method acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard stories where like people just despised her on the set because she essentially became the character. And so it's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad because apparently she doesn't associate herself with that movie whatsoever at all.
Yeah.
Because it would have been great to see her at one of these midnight movie series. She would, I think, have really appreciated seeing how much people love her.
Right.
In the middle of the night.
It's weird that some actors embrace the bad movies and they go with it, and others are just like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Right.
Like Clint Eastwood's first movie, I think, was the sequel to Creature from the Black Lagoon. He won't even talk about it though. So but and he's got a really small role, but he won't. Right. Anytime they ask him about it, he just doesn't want to talk about it. So everyone's different.
We all know it.
Yes.
Another one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
Oh, it's not even the first.
No. I appreciate Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 1 on a completely different level. I have no guilt about that. It's a great horror film.
Yeah.
But Part 2 takes a little bit of maybe justification, but seeing Dennis Hopper, and it's just so kind of over the top and just insane. But another sequel horror film that I hadn't appreciated fully before the Midnight Mass movie series was, more importantly, Freddy's Revenge. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, which could and probably should be titled A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Gay. It is the most homoerotic...
I have to rewatch it now.
Yeah, and it's not like it's totally subliminal. It's so out there and in front of you. If you just do see Freddy's Revenge, it is so super gay. It is hilarious. And so Peaches was fortunate enough to get the main actor, Mark Patton, I think his name was, to come and gives a little bit of the backstory about it. So apparently the writer was fully kind of aware that he was writing a gay horror film that was based off of the inspiration, I think, of kind of homophobia in high school and identities being kind of twisted, and so that plays out in the film as Freddy's trying to possess this male teenager.
Sure.
That's not the limit of it. The dialogue is so hilarious by today's standards.
Now, when you first saw it, did you realize any of this? Like when you first saw it?
Yeah, on some level, I was like, "This is a different horror film," because I was growing up gay, and there were no gay role models when I was growing up, but there was like Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and I was like, "This is relating to me on a different level than the other films." I was like, "How intentional?" But I never realized until later it came back, and I was like, "Yeah, totally." So anyway, Mark Patton was telling us that the author knew that this was going on, but apparently the director had no clue. He just directed this as like a straight-on horror film and had no clue until years later that his main actor and the writer were gay. And they were totally in on the joke. And it's really apparent on screen that it's a gay horror film.
Oh, I gotta say this now.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, so when Rob Halford came out as gay, he's the lead singer of Judas Priest, a lot of people started going back and reading the lyrics, and they're like, okay, this makes sense now. Like all of these songs, like now it kind of puts the two and two together. He was wearing the leather and the chains from biker bars, but that was the heavy metal look. Not realizing those are coming from those leather shops, back then. So that's fascinating. I definitely want to go back and watch Freddy's Revenge now. Yeah,
Freddy's Gay Revenge. I'm gonna save cult films.
Okay.
So I hope I remember to talk about John Waters and Rocky Horror Picture Show when we do cult films, because I have
those are epitome of cult films.
Yeah, I have like backstories for my experience encountering those because I was not ready for those either. As far as guilty pleasures, though, I would just add Theater of Blood and pretty much anything with my dearly loved triumvirate of British horror, Chris Lee, Vincent Price, or Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing's my favorite. But Theater of Blood is Vincent Price as a has-been West End actor who is jilted because he wanted to get like basically the equivalent of a Tony over there, and they pass him over for some other actor. He attempts a suicide, and they think it's successful. However, he comes back and takes out his revenge one by one on the critics who had cast aspersions on his reputation and blocked him from getting that award. And even better, he murders all of those critics based on a particularly famous and gory end in a Shakespeare play. So it's really fantastic, really campy. Several films have been inspired on that premise as well since then. It's so good, so good.
Yeah. Did you ever watch any of the William Castle movies?
Tingler
and everything. Those are they're different. Those are just they were supposed to be cheesy, and you go to the theater, and then the Tingler would actually, your seat would move or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, those are great. So, Josephine, do you have any more? Or so we go from horror to back to rom-com.
Back to horror and rom-com. No, I was just thinking about what you were saying, and there's another podcast. Is it okay to talk about the podcast?
Of course.
There's a podcast called How Did This Get Made? Have you heard of it?
No.
So that's with Paul Scheer and June Diane Raphael and Jason something. But anyway, they look at movies where, I think as they put it, it had the budget, like it had the resource, like the producers, the star, the scripts, all the means to be a big successful movie, but for whatever reason it was terrible, and they just kind of like they make fun of it obviously, and they just kind of like look at like what went wrong. So they have like The Tourist, they have I think Battlefield Earth, the John Travolta one. So these movies that have the budget, they got the stars, but for some reason it's terrible, and they just talk about that. And they were saying that I think one of them knew someone that was on the set of The Tourist, with Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie, and it just sounds like with all these movies that end up being just bad or like guilty pleasures, there's just so many different variables that can happen, in terms of like the set and what happens. And this guy was saying that the director wanted something from Johnny Depp, and he gave a note to Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp was like, "Okay, I'll do this, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna be good." And they're like, I think that kind of captures why a lot of these movies that have every chance to be great end up kind of just like sinking.
They fall flat. Yeah.
Just to even things out, I thought maybe I'd throw in a couple of romantic comedies that I do have on my list. She-Devil and War of the Roses.
Love She-Devil.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep is so great.
Yeah. She's so great in everything, and it's
Roseanne, right?
Yeah. It's so fantastic that Meryl Streep found that movie, or vice versa, because it's just fun to watch her and Roseanne go at it. Yeah. It's kind of a modern Psycho Biddy film.
It is.
Which I also love as well. So.
But I also love. I think that was one of her. The roles where she was proving that she could be a really great comedic actress, and then that movie, and then my other top 3 movie, Defending Your Life. She's also in that, and she's not doing the physical the comedy of like She-Devil, but still she's like warm and bubbly and effervescent. It's not. Yeah.
That's a brilliant movie that nobody knows about. Like, and Albert Brooks is so good in that, and just the whole premise is just great. That's a great cult movie, I think. I definitely.
That's a movie everyone is like, oh yeah, I've heard of it, and they'll never watch it.
But they got to see it. Like I just saw it like probably 5 years ago, and it's great. Like just the whole movie, it surprised me. I'm like, why haven't I heard about this?
Yeah, and it's surprising. Like I think about it. More than I would like a cult movie from the 90s, because like the really the idea, if you distill a whole movie down to like an idea, it's like you might think, okay, I've made all these mistakes, it's too late to go back, but it might not be too late, so you just take a chance.
Right. Yeah. Albert Brooks is always underrated.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And War of the Roses, I don't know.
What can you say? It's perfect.
I know. Well, you go
from two divorce movies.
Yeah.
The horrors of divorce.
They're arguably romantic comedies.
But I was hoping they'd
add Death Becomes Her as well. There's another.
Yeah, that's a good one too. It's really too bad that
Death.
Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner didn't do more movies. It was basically Romance in a Stone, Jewel of the Nile, and then War of the Roses.
Yeah, but it was a triumvirate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's
without DeVito,
it's not as good.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who agreed to be interviewed on this episode. You always make the show as good as it can be. So other guilty pleasure movies that just didn't make my top 10 list, I'll read through them somewhat quickly. I had Adventures in Babysitting from 1987. I talked about that before. Can't Buy Me Love, also from 1987, was a lot of fun. That's the geek to chic sort of premise. I used to love Crocodile Dundee as a kid. That was from 1986. Over the Top. So Sarah and I talked about that, but Over the Top is exactly what it is. Very over the top. The Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate and Selma Blair. Really, really funny, kind of gross out comedy. Kind of in the vein of Bridesmaids, but to me, it's just as good. Spies Like Us was a lot of fun, kind of completely ridiculous. Always love the test-taking scene. It doesn't really translate through podcasting, which is kind of why I didn't pick it and didn't play it. But if you see that scene, it's absolutely... Chevy Chase just kills me. Super Troopers, a lot of fun. I love ridiculous comedies, and it's a kind of a stoner Cheech and Chong type comedy, so it's a lot of fun. I almost put Men at Work with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez on it. Craig David. I think it's David. Keith David. Sorry, Keith David is their ride along, and he's super super funny in that. And also, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead with Christina Applegate. Again, another guilty pleasure. You got to see all of these movies if you like stupid comedies. Anyway, it's time for the plugs. You know you love this show, and if you love the show, you have to rate it and review it on iTunes. Because if you subscribe to it and you enjoy what we give you, you need to plug us. So make sure you rate and review. It would be a big help. You can also go on Podbean and listen to us at damngoodmoviememories.podbean.com. You can go to our YouTube page, listen to us there. You can also go on Facebook and find us and like us on Damn Good Movie Memories. All right, until next week, have a safe holiday. Talk to you later.
Christ, did a cow shit in here?